Good evening, everyone. I hope
Hello,
everyone's
world.
doing well.
Thank you so much for being with us. Look at us, like 6:52. Like we are kind of on time now. That's an amazing. One step at a time, we are learning, we are improving. Do we have a good sound?
Yeah, the sound
Everything is perfect. Tell us where are you watching from. If there are any question you want to tell us, share with us, like you are pretty much welcome to do so. And we are slowly going to get to this new episode, like, am I my dog's best friend? What do you think? How do we often fail that? Do we often fail that call, or what's your thought about that?
No, I think everyone does the best that they can, and I don't think it's about failing or succeeding. I think it's about having, the most information available and then making good choices with.
Are you happy with how you sound?
Yeah, so this one is using this microphone, by the way. But
That's okay, I guess. Like, and then this one is using both of ours, right?
yes,
Are you happy with that?
I am if you are.
I am. I'm okay with everything. You are the technical part of this game.
We'll get 2 microphones, so we'll have 4 microphones.
Okay, so at least that until you can hear us, it's okay. So let's come today to a topic, because I think we should maybe go through one of our stories, and maybe what does actually best friend mean? How you would define the best friend? How would you define the best man? What best man means to you? Regardless now, like dog and humans, like not in that relationship, but how would you call best friend? What the BFF actually means to you? So that's very important thing to understand. What the best friend is. I can tell you my definition of best friend and who I like to have around me. So. For me, the friends I call best friends are the ones that are usually very silent. I have very nice communication with them. They're there for me, I'm there for them. But we don't interfere with each other's life more than always knowing we have a support. And the support is actually that I exactly know whom to turn when I need to support. And the support would be just not to tell me what to do, but be by my side, so I have enough courage and enough strength to do what I know it needs to be done. But oftentimes I'm lacking support to do it. So I just need someone behind my back telling me three words: you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, and I'll do it. The friends that are on my list of the friends, but I consider them more like people that I know, are the ones that actually try to give you advice. Okay, you should do this and you should do that and you should kind of go there and you should, those are advices. The people are usually full of free advices, and that's exactly how much those advices cost and what's the value of them. That's as much as you pay for them. That's how much they valuable are for your life. And then oftentimes I just need to hear from people around me that I can do it and I'm not alone. And then when I turn to my inner strength and to my inner kind of wisdom and knowledge that's there, I'm just maybe oftentimes, and when in the problem, when in some sort of panic, or I don't know where to turn, I don't know which path to go, I just need someone to remind me where I need to go for those answers. And I need someone by my side to tell me those 3 words. Hug, if we are close, like Vedran is oftentimes doing, and then 3 words, you can do it. So I don't usually like to interfere with my friend's life as well. So I'm there for them as well. You can do it. That's all what sometimes they need to hear from me.
So why is that encouragement important? What does that do, or how does that make you feel?
I wouldn't say empowered, but whenever I need But maybe that would be the best way to describe it. What you gain from that empowerment, you can do it. It actually reminds me of forgotten words of my grandmother, of my mother, and obviously of my father. I start to remember my father's words as well. You can do it. You can do it. Regardless that he was always trying to protect me from the failure by telling me more the advices I didn't want to hear, but I would do it. I would do them anyhow, far away from his advice. Like I would do probably the opposite, and I'll pay the price for that. And then I would kind of remember that he's told to me that I can do it. And then because I forgot to hear that when I was actually approaching the problem, I had his support. But then I didn't do it. I didn't do it the way I wanted, and I paid a little price because I was going in the compromise. And then when I turned to him, it would be like, well, now you need to bear with the consequences of those decisions. And I would take that from him for granted. I would be angry at him, and that would be like, I would be like, oh my God, he's against me, he's never my support, he this, he that. But now, at this age, like 50 years later, I can kind of say that, yeah, he was by my side the best way he could, and I can hear his words whispering in my ears at this point, you can do it. How would you consider the best friends? Like what the best friend is for you? Are you turning to your friends for the advice?
Not so much. I think I used to, but I think as we age, or as we mature, we become very self-sufficient, and we kind of rely on ourselves for everything. So maybe that's sometimes also a fault, is especially like in big towns now, like LA where we're living, it seems like the bigger the town, the less connections, the less community there is, which, it is what it is. But I feel like people in general have become so self-sufficient, so independent. Everything that they do, they just do on their own. So a good friend or a best friend would be someone that you can turn to for help, and someone who's always there. And even if you don't speak for a couple of years or a long time, you know that nothing has changed and that you just pick up right where you left off.
Mm. We need to make distinguished line in between the people that you communicate with in order to find advice, like what's best to be done. So you are collecting the dots, and you are collecting the objectives around certain topic that you need to make a decision of. And then when usually it would be like, because oftentimes, there is, how would you call savest on English? How do you call that? Savest?
Conscience.
Is it a conscience?
Yeah, because if you say like, oh, I have like a guilty conscience, or like if you do something.
Let me see can you talk a little bit about something until I do not see
you're going to check.
I'm going to see the
guilt, no?
No. Translate.
Google Translate.
You can talk.
I know, but I'm waiting to see what the answer is going to be.
Why? Yeah, you're right. Conscious.
Oh.
So every single
see
you're
how
right.
You are. You don't trust me. You have to verify by asking Google.
No, I do trust you, but I was just not. I was not maybe sure that I was communicating what I wanted to tell you. So conscious. Look at the conscious. Yeah, there you. Oh, so there is a difference in between conscious and consciousness, right? Is it? Obviously, actually, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look what the dictionary says.
Now I should look for the consciousness as well.
No.
Never mind. Let's do the conscious first, because we are united around the conscious. So our decisions are based on our conscious decision. Our decisions are based on the conscious of the group that we belong to. So the conscious unite the group on its own. So there is a group of the family, the group of the other groups like clubs and the neighborhoods and the friends, and all kind of groups do have the same conscious, because that comes out from the same belief system, and we all believe that this is the right way to do it. So there is something that arises, that conscious raised in the consciousness, and the conscious hidden in a subconsciousness. Maybe that would be a great way to do. So every group tends to protect itself by a conscious. When we want to move on, why it's so difficult to move on from when everyone in the family has, for example, we didn't have money, or we didn't have food, or we were facing the challenges and things like that, that conscious tends to, be spread through the generation. It's kind of some curse to the family. And then everyone that goes out from that conscious of poorness tends to make something big, and then somewhere midway through the life, there is some big scandal happening, and because we would tend to belong to a family conscious, that's the most strongest group that we want to belong to, even subconsciously. That's very important to know. So all of these movements of the soul through the experience of the body are result of a deep connection to a conscious of the family or the other group that we want to belong to. And then if we want to change the group, then we need to change the conscious. But we need to kind of agree to changing the conscious without feeling abandoned or pushed away from the group that we shifted a conscious from. And that's when the dynamic in between humans and the dogs come in question through the morphic resonance or harmonic resonance. It's that group that now includes the dogs, so two different species share the same conscious. Now in the dogs, it's always visible because they don't have a separation in between conscious mind and subconscious mind. They can't make, and they are driven by that's where the question becomes like, are the dog conscious? They are conscious. The dogs have consciousness, but they doesn't necessarily have that separation of the mind on the consciousness and subconsciousness. So everything they do in tuned in the laws of nature. And those laws of nature they can be conditioned, but they are still reacting on the circumstances around them that actually provides them a guidance of what is good to be done. So if something is good to be done in order to benefit of something, or if something is to be done to avoid something, they're going to do it, or they won't do it. It's simply as that. So they do have a free will, if you can call it, but that always depend on the circumstances and the conscious of the family that the dogs do belong to. And that's as well coming with our friends as well. So friends that are respecting the conscious of our group will always respect everyone within that group as a highest form of creation with the free will to do what everything they need is to be done. Oftentimes the friends are there only to give a support with those three words. You can do it. You have this. You can go through this. And no matter how hard it is, I'm by your side. But not to do it instead of you. Not to give you an advice. Divorce or don't divorce or do this, go to diet. You are good, you're not good, things like that. It's bad for you. We are always fed up with those things, and we are taking all of that oftentimes from the families and the school and everywhere around. We need a place where we can actually hear those three words resonate over and over and over in our mind, in our head, through our actions, through our belief, that we hear someone embed three words in our mind: you can do it. You can do it. But a raising of the conscious, and the raising of the consciousness comes from doing it. Doing what's difficult to be done. Divorce, give a отказ.
Quit.
Quit the job you don't like. Move away from the environment doesn't serve you. But why we are not doing that? Because we do belong to a conscious of the abuse, of the bad relationship. We do belong to that. My son was going through a terrible experience because he was bullied when he was a little boy, like age of 7, 8, 9 in that time. He was sick, and he went out, took a couple of days, maybe up to a week from school, and then he went to a doctor to get like a paper why he didn't, excuse. So he bought a paper to a teacher that he adored. So he was very much, he liked that class, he liked the teacher, he was very kind to him, and Luca was very kind to him, and he was very successful in learning up to that particular day. He bought an excuse, he saw the excuse, and the teacher asked him like, "Oh, how is your throat?" And he said like, "Which throat?" But he said, "What was your problem?" He said, "I had a problem with my stomach." But then he said, "In your excuse, it's written that you had a problem with the throat. Are you a little fraud master to do this paper on your own?" That's what he asked the boy of 8 years old. My Luca freezed. He didn't know what to say, what to reply. It was a joke, but ended up killing his dreams, killing his everything. Nevertheless, the entire class starting calling him fraud guy. Fraud, that's how you call falsificator, right? Forger. And he didn't know how to cope with that. And he really started to have like physical symptoms of not being really ill, being ill every single day when he needed to go to a school. And then finally, I was talking to him. He didn't see doing nothing wrong. He said, "I have a right to talk whatever I think."
You were talking to the professor?
I'm now talking to a professor, to a teacher, yeah. And I talked to him, I said, like, you have a very big responsibility to take care about what you are talking to our kids. And then he said, because every single word of yours has a big consequences, as you see what everything of that created now with the Luca's life. And he said, you can't prohibit me from telling what I think. I said, but I won't. But you are at the position where you need to think if you want to have a freedom of talking what you think. You need to think of who are you talking to. And then we went to a counseling with his psychologist of the school, and he recommended to change the class because that torture in him was going like over like two years almost. Now he's already ready, like a last year. And then he said, okay, I'm gonna change the school, change the class. There is a couple of guys I like from the other class. The teacher is very nice. She's great to me too. And he said, let's change the class. At the morning when he needed to change the class, he said, I don't want to go. I can't. Why? He said, I don't know how bad it can be at the new place, but I know at least how bad it at this place. So a little boy of 8 years decides to stay loyal to a conscious of the abusive class because he didn't know and he didn't trust it or didn't know. We didn't know. We were very young parents. We were relying on the advices of the psychologist and all the people that are like kind of doing that because they need to do it and things like that. Unfortunately, no one was there interesting much to help him. Neither we knew how to do it because both of us were like 20-something years, when we had them. Child.
So the unknown was scarier.
Yeah. And then he said too, I can't change the class. We said, why? Because I don't know how it's going to be. But we said, like, it can be worse than it is. And he said, how do you know? So that's how powerful the conscious of the abusive group is over the consciousness of the individual belonging to that group. That's why we don't go from the abusive relationship, because the loyalty to that group is so strong that we fear that even we are able to expose ourselves to even worst experience if we leave this abusive environment. And what is there for you to have? Not the people to tell you how you need to do it, and because you need to do it, and lay out you the theory and tell you how terrible this class is and how great other class is. No. You just need the support to bypass the bridge in between old and new. You can do it. But there is an amazing thing, again, that I keep telling over and over and over, is the dark cave that we fear to enter holds the treasure we seek. So we are the one that needs to go through the bridge. And that's what our friends are for, to help us remember that within us is an unlimited source of strength and courage. It's just to be in it. Remembered, recognized, and used in order to move a step forward. That's why the dogs are the best friends of the humans. Because through them, we got encouraged. Because through them, we do reconnect with something that we had lost in a long run of the growth. And now, when we needed that time, when we needed that part of ours that was lost somewhere, we got this little dog to help us navigate through the life. It can be also something that we are exposed to from the childhood, from the moment we are alive. We kind of always had a dog in our life. But that just means that we are always, we are a so strong little soul that's always having that identification of the missing part of the big puzzle of our life, always present as a blessing. And that's also not something that maybe I'm missing, but maybe something that my mother is missing. So if my mother is missing, I'm missing it too. That's how the epigenetic works. Epigenetics is actually, that's embedded in these relationships that we have within the family. The curse of the destiny oftentimes and sometime overcomes one generation, and it gets itself exposed in a generation to come. So I was abused in the school. My Luca, in a loyalty to the conscious of the abuse that I experienced, got himself abused. Because what was happening there? The moment when the teacher accused him, what triggered the freezing portion was exactly the same environment I was having in school when my teacher in some, maybe that was like also in between 1 to 5, first 4 grades, somewhere there in line. We had a homework, and there was a topic to be written about flowers, whatever flowers. And then I said, like, I wrote such a nice poem about the flower, and I remember still, day to day, like 50 years later almost, I remember how that poem almost started. Da sam lala, da u polju krasim cvet. That is how I started my class. It means if I would be a tulip, but not just whichever tulip, I needed to be in a field, in a, how you say? Niva.
Field.
Is it a field?
Yeah.
In a field, so, not in a vase, but in a field, so I can make a world be more beautiful. So that's how I started the thing. And then I knew with heart of my heart how nicely and kind of impactful that idea was in my mind. However, the lady, the girl next to me, ended up writing the story on the tulip as well. And when when the teacher was looking our notes, she said our assignments. She said, like, Sasha, you shouldn't copy the work of your friend. I freezed. I was so proud on my work for the first time. I did it. I planted that seed of the beauty in my eyes, and I saw the world with me in a field. I was living that little story.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah, but it killed me, unfortunately. Not physically, but it killed me within. So then from there on, I always was thinking that, it's a fraud. I was accused to be
Forging, copying.
Forging the test. 50 years later, because I didn't work that out, I was not working on that. It bothered me through the life because I was always thinking about what I'm doing. Am I good enough? Am I enough different so no one will accuse me of being fraudulent? That actually did kind of shape my world in this beautiful, and I patent everything I find out just in case that no one comes and tell me that I fraudulent someone. So I have so many things written and deposited in that intellectual properties and the worlds and things like that. But I'm doing that not because I want to protect the things. I just don't want anyone to tell me you're frauduling someone. That's how important it is. And I was missing, that was a time when I was really thinking to kill myself because I didn't know how to go through that shameful and embarrassment. That was not true. I was falsely accused. And then when I was thinking about, kind of that would be an easiest way because I didn't find support within the friends, because I think at that time everyone was because the lady was much more popular girl in a class than I was, so it was obviously more true that I was I was frauding her, and maybe just two of us came with the same idea without anyone frauduling anyone. And then she said, I was thinking about, this is too much for me, I can't, I'm weak, I'm this and that. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, I should end up this agony. So I'm thinking there, how should I kill myself and how is that to be done? And then on one point I realized, but if I do that to myself, who gonna take care about my dog? Because that's how I connected what to my dog was. So from that moment on, I had my dogs as sacred guides through those times of, considering doing something that's actually shouldn't be done. And now I'm so proud, maybe entire life of mine is dedicating this service to dogs. So the people can really rely on the dogs, but respect the dogs from the level of the pure friendship.
And we hear those stories all the time of members in our community who say that the dog has really saved them and given them a purpose to get out of the house, to interact, and just, to have a purpose. So that's a story that's becoming more and more common these days, unfortunately, or fortunately actually, that the dog can serve people on such a high, profound level when we're talking about life itself. But now how do we flip that 360 since the dogs are doing so much for people? What would you say, based on your years of experience and working with dogs so long and so deep, what are the top 3 things that we can do to actually be to return or to reciprocate that relationship? What are the essentials? What is the most fundamental?
We already went through that, and I'll just lay them again. So in order to experience a pure love and happiness with our dogs and the pure love and harmony relationship, there is a path to that, and everything starts with a respect. The moment we do respect the way and the world it is, that means everything and everyone is at the place where they should be, regardless how much we agree or disagree with that, everything is on the right way, on the right place. So everything has its own purpose. For example, maybe the event of mine, my tulip story, frees me. And a piece of my soul was freezed in that relationship of me and the class and my teacher. But because I didn't work it out, I was not working on that. Entire my life was always around being ashamed of being different, doing different things, because I was always thinking that there is someone that can do something and someday someone will come and tell me the same thing. So that's like when we don't deal with something that's far long time ago, past trauma or whatever experience that doesn't exist, but a part of our soul got trapped in a time that doesn't come exist. So we today are not fulfilled because we are missing part of ourself. Not to talk about this single event in my life. There are many of them, but this is how exactly the same event occurred in the life of my child. Because I, as a parent, was not enough skilled to kind of like try to trigger all of these symptoms in my life that I see them so many now. And then I just had actually the workshop this morning that maybe opened all of this me to talk about loud, because now when we do say like how to become a best friend of our dogs is don't let them live your life. How? By taking responsible decisions on your own to try to dig with what's going on and where are the hidden shadows of our past driving us in the future, or actually in the present moment.
If you're saying don't let the dog be the focal point of your life.
That's always the problem, because if I would try to fix for example, I can now tell to my son, go and work on this thing that actually you have a problem with, okay? Because you are bullied and you're going to expose yourself to all kind of... That's true. But as a conscious father about that event, I know that he can experience those events only as a consequence of my life, his mother's life, and the mother's and our ancestral life. Where would he find, as a little child of 9 years, possibility to put himself in that environment? So can kind of, why the children do that? The children do that to sacrifice themselves for my own healing. So he exposed himself unconsciously through the situation that will trigger. My trigger that lives in him triggered him to do the same. And 20 years later, I didn't know for such a strong, therapy as a family constellation therapy that I on the end become a therapist for, because that heals, that shows, opens a life like the onion in order to bring us back to pieces of our soul that we just dragged around our life, that are lost in a time that doesn't exist anymore. Neither the events exist anymore. Neither are we aware of them.
So maybe next time we can do a full podcast dedicated to family constellation work and systemic constellations and the clients that you've worked with and how you've helped them through the stories of their dogs actually to pinpoint.
That's actually perfect. That's an excellent idea, because I think that is what this little story about connection of me and my son revealed, because they look like, what time you was and why did it happen? Because of the family conscious. My son is loyal to a family conscious. My daughter also goes through, because she's an opera singer, and the opera singer is a world of the bullying. That's how because you need to be strong, you need to be best, you need to change a face on the scene, on the podium, how you say that, on the stage, and then change the destiny when you go off the stage. It's not an easy life to live. It's a kind of life of sacrifice on its own. She's doing that also because of the family conscious she belonged to. And now it's nothing wrong, because we need to belong as a social animal. The human need to belong. And with the belonging, we are always going to belong to some sort of the group conscious. But then when we face that the group that we do belong is not good for us, is abusive, why it's so difficult to move away from the abusive relationship? Because of the loyalty to a conscious of the group that we belong. And exactly the words would come up. I can't, I'm afraid, because I don't know what can happen. The abuser might go to jail, but maybe not. He can take, he can take a revenge on me, or, and then you start to project out from fear all of these outcomes and possibilities that also exist in a bullying environment of the group. And the more I talk about that, more the events of me being bullied in the childhood arise in my consciousness. So now finally I can deal with them like a grown man of 50 years now. And then now I can see that event with a safe distance and embracing whatever is left of my piece of my soul that's left there. And then get them back, encompass that back to my reality of today. And that's how I liberate my son. I don't wait for him to do that, because that is why he's doing. It's not because he wants, it's because that's how the conscious works. The conscious of the family is embedded in a subconscious of the person belonging to a family. Conscious of the group is embedded in the subconsciousness of everyone belongs to group. And then that subconsciousnness, conscious, drives us into actions. Oftentimes you would say, you would look and you wonder, why I did that? How I wouldn't do nothing. I would never do that to anyone. Yet something greater of us made us do it. And the consequences of that are not nice. But everything is out from love. Because we do belong out from love and loyalty. But the loyalty oftentimes can be destructive. For who? For the individual. So the group can survive. And that's again same in a dog's environment. The individual is always sacrificed for the greater of the group. So the individual of the pack is very important, but not more important than the group itself. So the alphas would always lead the pack until they can. Once they can't, the sons and the daughters of the same family are going to kill them and reorganize the pack differently. That's what means sacrificing. That's also in Serbia and the Balkan, you have compassionate sacrifice of the father. That was a tradition that was going on for the centuries because of the fame, would you say, Glad?
Famine.
Famine? Because of the famine. The families didn't have what to eat. And once the father of the family become, that he can't do nothing in a family, become a burden of the family, he would tell to the son, now it's my time to go. And what happens, the custom was that the mother, if it's still alive, there is a father, the oldest figure in the family. There was a mother. If she's still alive, then she's gonna make a bread, specially designed bread. Mother, or if not, then the son's wife, the daughter-in-law would make a bread. And then the son would take a father somewhere in the wood and kill him. And the father would want that, to sacrifice himself for the greater survival of the group. From this perspective, from this environment of 2022, we can look to those customs as cruel and unexplainably cruel. But then when we see how the life operates, how the laws of nature operates, we need to go maybe 3,000 years ago in a human civilization to see how the people, maybe today also you have all kind of religion movements that see sacrifice of the animals and even the humans as a way to improve on, as I said last time, improve on the weather or for the business or for the greater, harvest of the nature, things like that. They were thinking that they need to sacrifice the children or someone in order to please the gods. All kind of those traditions we went through. So the sacrifice of the individual in the interest of the group survival, it's not something that we need to be surprised it's happening. But as it's so embedded in the history of the humankind, and the history of the nature itself, it still repeats itself. Maybe not in a life way of sacrificing life for something, but unconscious sacrifice of the youngest generation, especially the kids and the dogs, in order for the group to thrive and survive. So if we take a group as a family, and we see a conscious of the family that now the dog belongs to, as the lowest in the rank, the dog would keep the most pressure to help the group survive. And oftentimes, out from loyalty, pure love and harmony to the group, dedicated to the group, the dog's gonna sacrifice themselves subconsciously. And the subconscious is embedded in the laws of nature. It's nothing to do with I want or I don't want. This is how the story of my son and me connected in the time that spreads like maybe 30 years apart of the event happened in my life and in his life. Explains this in plastic. How the son, why the son would go through the same experience as I do. It's genetically coded. How would I be able to change if I would somehow know that actually that's something that drives my scarcity and my fear was embedded in that event around the tulip in my school. It just suddenly, like maybe today or yesterday on my workshop, this event came up to be almost a fruition of my digging into this family constellation structured workshop. And now I can talk about that with such an ease and such a looking at that events from distance and understanding the sacrifice my son did for me and for my healing. So he would go again through the experience I did, so he can remind me of the event unconsciously. He doesn't know, but how that happened, the big soul, the movement of something greater than both of us, was putting us on a path of healing. That's how the dogs does it too.
Wow.
Isn't that fascinating?
It really is, and as always, a lot to digest, a lot to think about, and really incredible stuff.
Thank you so much for your time. Next time we're going to dig deeper in the case studies of my book about the dogs and awakening towards pure love and harmony, and we're going to go through some cases. I can ask you to read some of the chapters or parts of the chapters, and then I can kind of interpret them from, as we did this little story in between me and my son. And on the other side, also, if you have any story or any work that you would loving to share with us and we can also invite you as a guest on our podcast, so we can kind of reveal the hidden secrets of the family, the conscious that lives through a dog's behavior and why the dogs are behaving the certain way. It's always leading to sometimes we will know, oh, I'm anxious and my dog is anxious, but then becomes like where the dogs is actually leading us. They are never leading. You see that relationship with my son. And the bond that he sacrificed to my finding the path to my solution of my problem was embedded in almost the same dynamic. So he was accused to be, how you say that word? Forger. But his event was he was bringing to a class the excuse why he was not at school. And the teacher accused him to be a forger. 30 years before that, I was accused that I'm forger, but by doing and reading of the paper of my friend next to me and creating my story out from that. Both of us froze in time at the same place. And if I would go probably in the life of my parents, I would find the similar events. And that's how the destiny needs to stop repeating itself. Only when out from the shadow, something is both in consciousness and then faced there as a truth, without judgment. No one is judging now. Probably if I would judge my experience, like later on, the guy would say, my friend would say, my teacher would say, oh, I was joking, and I would said like, it was so nicely written that I couldn't believe you did it, and then I was thinking that she, and then I was accusing the friend that she look at my assignment, but that just gives some more kind of oil on the fire, and it will never burn the fire down. And if that's happening in that way, then just harder and harder and harder and harder lessons becomes for the ones we love. But the only way, as Jung would say, whatever is living as a secret, not a secret that you buried because you want to bury and carry something as a secret, because those secrets probably we are able to face and take a responsibility for them and not revealing something, but the problem becomes forgotten secrets. The secrets that we said, okay, I'll deal with this later, and then they got forgotten, but they never got dealt with. And sometimes we forgot something instantly in order to survive, but then our loved ones, especially our kids and our dogs, got reminded to those secrets. So dealing with every single thing of this is not just going there and pointing things that you know, because then you would know how to solve it. The dogs and the kids are taking us back to forgotten places that are not part of our consciousness. And that is exactly what the Jung is talking about. Whatever lives as a secret in the parents becomes the flesh and bone of their children. That's why it's so important to deal with everything that we can deal with in our life, so we liberate as much as we can the free authorway, highway for the life of our kids that moves forward. I think we can stop slowly here if you don't have anything else. So,
yes, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you very much and have a good night.
Oh, should I say the same? Okay, thank you so much, and then see you 7 o'clock p.m. East, Pacific time next Thursday. Bye.